From news and views, issues and opportunities, we'll have in-depth conversations with decision makers to find out what they know and what they think. I'm Rico Hizon, inviting you to join the exchange because your business is our business. A comprehensive pandemic exit plan, making sure food is enough for every Filipino and relief for 26 million people from poverty. The next chief executive will face these issues and more. Investors are awaiting the economic team of presumptive President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. that would help navigate the country during these troubled times. One of the struggling sectors, agriculture, where farmers grapple with low income, high input costs, and uncertainties from natural calamities, while facing the pressure to produce more to meet demand. And amid pledges of support from candidates during the campaign season, is the rest of 2022 a good time for business expansion in a year of political transition? The vision of thriving micro, small, and medium enterprises in our C-Suite vision. The economy grew at a faster than expected 8.3% in the January to March quarter, a strong rebound from the same period a year ago. Can the next administration sustain this momentum amid economic headwinds such as rising consumer prices and mounting debt? Let's now have an exchange with former Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Deputy Governor Diwa Guinigundo. Sir Diwa, thank you so much for joining us. Let's take a look at the plans of the new administration based on his campaign platform. Will the economic strategy of presumptive President Bongbong Marcos boost the economy and improve the living conditions of our kababayans?
Well, on the basis of his initial ideas about managing the health pandemic and engineering the economic recovery of the Philippines, I think with sufficient assistance from his economic managers and the right policies, I think there is a chance that we can sustain this. After all, for more than 25 years, we have been putting up very, very important policy and structural reforms. This is the foundation of a sustainable, more inclusive Philippine economy.
But Sir Diwa, tackling rising poverty, strengthening healthcare, dealing with rising inflation, and managing the humongous debt of at least 13 trillion pesos. These are serious issues that the presumptive president has to address with his economic team.
Definitely, Rico. The important point here is, number one, as you know, our economy was seriously undermined by over 2 years of generally strict quarantine restrictions. So the first order of business is to strengthen our health firewalls, so to speak, expand our health facilities, and stock up on frontline medical workers. I think the point here is to make sure that we don't go back to a generalized rather than granular type of quarantine restriction. So we don't restrict the whole economy, we don't restrict business activities. Of course, the side issue here is the debt. Since the economy is barely is just recovering, revenues are still modest. So the new government will really have to borrow its way to more economic growth, economic recovery, and management of the pandemic. That's one. Second, of course, you said about inflation. Inflation is not just about demand, but it is also supply-driven. So it's important that the economy should grow, agriculture should receive sufficient assistance in terms of the budget. And I think the rice tarification law is very important here, because rice is going to be cheaper, or has been cheaper since the time that the rice tarification law was enacted by Congress, and it's beginning to show in terms of more modest price of rice.
Sir Diwa, of course, so far, no specific economic strategies and plans from the presumptive president. And of course, no specific names have been mentioned so far on who will make up his economic team. How important are the names and credentials of his economic managers to the international investors and the global financial community from whom we are borrowing billions of dollars?
Okay, the names of the new economic managers are as important as the economic policies of the new government. It is true that in the long period of the campaign, the presumptive president did not provide us with very specific, concrete policy strategies to keep our economy afloat. But yes, the names of the economic managers are very important. They have to be they have to have some gravitas, so to speak. The market should know them, and on the basis of their credentials, they will be judged by the market. And as you know, Nomura, the Nomura Global Research made a point a few months ago, I think January or February of this year, that the presumptive president has caused some uncertainties in the market. But the challenge for him is to come up with good names and good economic policies.
But if we don't have those credible names, people who are reliable with the international investing community, and of course with all of our problems, twin deficits, high inflation, high public debt, is there a risk of a valuation derating, Sir Diwa, from the international ratings agencies?
It is possible. And therefore, the challenge for the presumptive president is to come up with very good names to constitute his economic team. That's one. Two, I think he should be able to present a very good roadmap on how he intends to manage the health pandemic. As you know, because of the health pandemic, the whole economy was locked down. And we had number of quarters of negative growth. It was only in the second quarter of last year up to the first quarter of this year that we saw some recovery. Okay, so I think in terms of economic policies, he should also come up with a very clear roadmap that the nation is waiting for.
And of course,
In
there's
particular,
also
about infrastructure.
concerns, Sir Diwa, no, among investors about corruption, nepotism, and poor governance. In your view, should the presumptive president, Bongbong Marcos, be hands-on? Should he be personally involved in the economic policies that will be drawn up by his economic team?
Well, to the extent that he is capable of doing that, yes, because it will also provide the market with the assurance that the presumptive president is very active and fully engaged in the management of the economy. Yes, the credit rating agencies will be looking at the composition of his economic cabinet, but at the same time, they will also be more conscious of the kind of policies that he will be coming up with. For example, his earlier announcement about a possible revival of the regulatory powers of the National Food Authority is one. That could be a step backward because the law has already been, the rice tariffication bill or law has already removed much of those regulatory powers of the NFA except to make sure that we have food security or security with respect to our rice inventory. So this is something that I think the new government will have to grapple with. Corruption is a very important issue because one of the criteria in terms of corruption perception index and the global competitiveness report, these are periodic regular ratings of many countries in the world. And one of the issues there, of course, is corruption. And we all know that this is one of the issues that have followed the campaign of the presumptive president. I think it will be important for him to disabuse his critics that it's going to be the same all days as in the past. So I think he has a lot of things to show for in terms of his intention on how to address the issue of corruption in his new government.
Still a lot of question marks on how the presumptive president will manage the economy and who will be his economic managers. Thank you so much for this exchange, former BSP Deputy Governor Diwa Guinigundo. And now here's a rundown of this week's top business stories. The country's debt-to-GDP ratio climbs to 63.5% in the first quarter, the highest since 2005. And this means the government borrowed heavily during the pandemic. Budget airline Cebu Pacific saw its losses swell by 7.6 billion pesos despite higher passenger traffic from January to March this year. And power distributor Meralco cuts its rates by 12 centavos for May. A typical household consuming 200 kilowatt hours per month will see a decline of 24 pesos in the monthly bill. And straight ahead on the exchange, where your business is our business. How can the next administration revive the agricultural sector after recording a lower output in the January to March period? A farmer and a fisherman share their insights. And strengthening micro, small, and medium enterprises was one of Bongbong Marcos' campaign promises. An MSME owner joins us for a quick chat. Keep it right here on CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust. Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Massive damage caused by Typhoon Odette and the spike in fuel and fertilizer costs dragged farm output down in the first 3 months of the year. The agriculture sector is now calling for much-needed support to improve food production and living conditions of farmers. Let's now have an exchange with masipag farmer leader Virginia Nazareno and fisherman and 2021 Ramon Magsaysay awardee Kadodoy Balon. Maraming salamat po sa inyong dalawa. Ma'am Virginia, gaano po kalaki ang inunlad ng agrikultura at mga magsasaka sa ilalim ng pamahalaan ni Pangulong Duterte?
Sa akin po, bilang isang magsasaka na nag-organic, ay sobrang bagal po yung aming karanasan dahil doon po sa usapin ng organic agriculture ay maliit po yung suporta na ibinibigay ng ating pamahalaan. Samantalang po sa mga magsasaka ay mas papamahal yung mga sintetikong pataba. Kaya po hindi po kami masyadong nagtutok doon sa mga sintetikong pataba sa usapin ng pagsasaka. Kami po ay mas nakatutok sa organikong pagsasaka.
Kadodoy, kayo naman po, umunlad ba mga mangingisda sa liderato ni President Duterte?
Magandang araw sa lahat. Sa nakita natin at pagtaya itong liderato ni President Duterte, meron naman mga umunlad na mga mangisda, pero pangkalahatan sa buong Pilipinas ay parang kunti lang nakita nating umaasinso o kumita ng maayos, lalong-lalo na itong panahon ng pandemic ay lalong nalugmok yung mga ating sektor na maliliit na mangisda sa Pilipinas. Yan po ang napansin po natin.
Ma'am Virginia, para sa inyo, ano po ang inaasahan ninyong pag-unlad sa susunod na administrasyon para sa mga magsasaka?
Ay naasahan po namin pag-unlad bilang isang magsasakang masipag, yung pong rice tariffication law ay pwedeng alisin, tapos po ay yung pong pagsuporta sa GMO at saka sa golden rice na ito po ay hindi kailangan naming mga magsasaka, at yung pong pagsuporta sa organikong pagsasaka bilang isang organic farmers, yun po yung aming gusto at yun ang aming nakikitang ikaunlad ng mga maliliit na magsasaka.
Kayo naman Kadodoy, ano po ang kailangan tugunan ng susunod na Pangulo ng bansa para sa mga mangingisda?
Ang nais po namin sana matugunan hindi lang doon sa pang-nasyonal, lalo-lalo na po sa ating mga local government unit o sa ating lokal na pamahalaan na bagong nailuklok ngayon, na sana panatilihin at mas lalong paunlarin at proteksyonan yung ating mga pangisdaan dito sa ating munisipyo at lalong-lalo na itong mga maliit natin na mga mangingisda. Bigyan po sila ng kaukulang suporta, mga livelihood, mga kapital at saka itaguyod po sila at palakasin sila yung kanilang mga organisasyon, mga association at mga cooperative para makaagapay at makasulong po ang ating mga maliliit na mangingisda sa Pilipinas.
So,
yan po ang ating panawagan.
So, Ma'am Virginia, no, marami kayong inaasahan sa bagong administrasyon. Pero ano po ang pangunahing problema sa agrikultura ang kailangang aksyonan ng bagong administrasyon?
Ito po yung pangunahing dapat aksyonan sa bilang isang magsasaka. Ayun pong lalo't higit po ay yung mga nasa yung malawak na nagsasaka na nasa konbensyonal, dahil po ay ito yung mas nangangailangan at mas maganda po kung ang ating susunod na administrasyon ay malaking bahagi at malaking porsyento ng budget ang itututok sa organic agriculture. Yan po.
Kadodoy, sa inyong palagay, ano po ang hinahanap ninyo sa susunod na Agriculture Secretary?
Ang hinhanap namin ang sa susunod na Agriculture Secretary, sana mas lalong dagdagan ang budget ng aming Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. Yun nga ang panawagan nga namin sa nasyonal, sa ating mga, hindi lang sa agrikultura or sa ating sekretary, pati sa ating mga mambabatas sa Congress at Senado, na gawin na isang departamento itong Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. So yun ang panawagan po natin at bigyan ng mas malaking pundo yung ating sektor ng pangisdaan para makausad at magkaroon ng magandang buhay at magandang programa itong ating fisheries sector. Yun po ang ating panawagan at pakiusap po.
Kayo naman po, Ma'am Virginia, sino po sa inyo ang karapat-dapat na maging susunod na Agriculture Secretary? At ano pong hinahanap nyo na karakter, mga characteristics sa bagong Agriculture Secretary ng bansa?
Ang gusto ko po maging characteristic ng bagong secretary ng Department of Agriculture ay yung pong tao na talagang may puso at handang tumulong sa mga magsasaka at susuportahan yung organikong pagsasaka bilang isang maliliit na magsasaka, dahil ito yung mas kailangan naming maliliit na magsasaka, dahil ito ay nakakatipid, dahil kami ay walang pambili ng mamahaling input at ito ay para sa aming mga magsasaka ay sapat at ligtas at samot-saring pagkain.
Para sa inyo, Kadodoy, anong panawagan nyo sa presumptive president na si Bongbong Marcos? Ano ba ang hindi niya kailangan gawin sa ating mga mangingisda?
At sana ang aming panawagan na hindi sana gawin sa ating mangingisda ay huwag papasukin yung ating mga hindi Filipino mangingisda at huwag hayaang maagaw yung ating mga likas yaman sa karagatan na para lamang sa aming mga Pilipino at lalong-lalo na sa aming mga maliliit na mangingisda sa Pilipinas. Yun po ang panawagan natin na protektahan kami sa lahat ng oras para po sa ating karapatan, sa aming karapatan bilang mangingisda po sa Pilipinas. Yan po ang ating panawagan.
Kayo naman po, Ma'am Virginia, anong panawagan nyo sa presumptive president na si Bongbong Marcos na hindi niya gawin para sa agricultural sector?
Ang panawagan po namin ay ibagsak ang RDL at tapos po ang GMO, lalong-lalo na higit, at saka po ang pagsuporta sa golden rice, dahil po ang golden rice ay sa aking pagkaalam ay sinusuportahan. At ito po sana ang yung aming panawagan na huwag suportahan, at lalo na po ang isang pinakamahalaga ay yung pagpapatalsik sa iri at sa rice, dahil po ito sa tingin namin ito yung isang nagpapahirap sa mga maliliit na magsasaka, dahil wala kaming pangbili ng binhi. Bilang isang magsasakang masipag, nasa amin ang binhi, kami ang may hawak. Paano na yung mga magsasakang malawak na walang hawak na binhi?
Maraming pong salamat sa inyo, Farmer Leader Virginia Nazareno and Fisherman and 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee Kadodoy Balon. And up next on The Exchange, where your business is our business, we chat with micro, small, and medium enterprises on what our incoming leaders can do to uplift the local industry. Oro Handmade joins us next, right here on CNN Philippines. News you can use. News you can trust. Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Micro and small businesses encountered a major roadblock because of the COVID-19 pandemic. How could the next administration usher in recovery and growth for our MSMEs? Let's now have an exchange with Oro Handmade Innovations founder, Lolita Cabanlet. Ma'am Lolita, maraming salamat po for joining us on the program. Gaano po kayo naapektuhan ng pandemya sa inyong negosyo?
Thanks for having me. But first of all, how we were affected is three-pronged. Tatlo po. One is among our workers, and second is on our buyers. Since we are an export company, we have buyers from France, from Netherlands, who had lockdowns ahead of us. So there was practically a disconnect with our buyers. And third is that we need to continue with our business, so that it was very crucial for us to come up with a business recovery plan.
So you were affected
So
both
as
in the
to-
local workplace and with your international market buyers. But how were you able to recover? How were you able to pivot your business?
Okay, for the first, the workers, the Department of Labor and Employment actually came to our rescue. It was just so timely that the DOLE was able to distribute ayuda at the right time. The process was so smooth that our workers don't have to leave home and, pila where the money is distributed. But instead, DOLE has adopted online platforms for them to receive their payment. So that I think we were able to avail of the 3 waves of ayuda. And that itself was very, very helpful to our workers and to us as business owners, because, the revenue stream has stopped, at the onset of COVID. And the second, on our disconnect with our buyers. So we desperately needed to reconnect with them. But since they were already on lockdowns, there was very slow connection with them, and we hardly ever receive any feedback from them. But with the business in export, we have to go every year, twice a year, to a international trade fair. But during the 2-year COVID, there was none. It was impossible to hold a physical business-to-business trade fair. So who again came to our rescue? It is the DTI SITEM. They came up with virtual international show. So they taught us, they gave us all the important information, how to be able to participate in virtual international trade fairs.
So there was a lot of
And that is
cooperation
how-
between the government and the private sector, especially during this pandemic. But Ma'am Lolita, we saw the economy expand by more than 8%, in the first quarter of this year. How optimistic are you that the situation will improve going forward, especially with a new administration in place?
Well, in terms of our 2021 performance, which will be my basis for saying that whether it's optimistic or not, I would say it is optimistic. Because for the past 6, or rather since November of 2021 up to the present, we are able to honor our obligations on time. We used to be for the past 2 years delayed, with our obligations with the banks or with the government agencies. But today, as of this month, we have actually gotten on date for our obligations. So today also, we keep on receiving purchase orders from our buyers to whom we sent product designs. We did not stop sending them product designs despite COVID. And they returned to all those emails with our new products. And it became the basis for their new orders. So,
This is all
we
very
are
good
very
news.
happy that the
This is all very good
virtual
news,
show-
Ma'am Lolita. But going forward, what are you expecting from the next president in terms of his administration helping the micro, small, and medium enterprises?
I have two expectations from the new administration. First would be the continuation of the Ambisyon Natin 2040. It is a holistic approach to development planning. For the next 25 years, it was designed to look beyond the 6-year presidential term. And I'm pretty sure the new president would look at Ambisyon Natin 2040 as a very, very effective platform to pursue development planning as foreseen for the next 25 years. The next expectation I have for the new administration is to use innovation through science and technology as its centerpiece in attaining economic growth. President Duterte signed 2 laws in 2019, namely the Philippine Innovation Act and the Startup Innovation Act. The IRR, or the implementing rules and regulations for these 2 laws, have been in place. So I hope the new economic managers will look at this closely, because for me, we are good to go with these 2 laws.
Thank you so much for this local business exchange, Oro Handmade Innovations founder Lolita Cabanlet. And this is the exchange who makes sense of the facts and the figures and the ups and downs of the business cycle, because your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Thanks for watching CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust.